This video will provide an introduction to the Spellout Rules. The Spellout Rules are responsible for adding the vast majority of your morphology. The Clitic Rules also provide some morphology, but the vast majority of your morphology will come from the Spellout Rules. And if we enter the Spellout Rules node, we can see that there are the standard predefined syntactic categories. And for each syntactic category, you can enter up to 99 groups. Nouns has just one group. To enter a new group, you double-click on it. You enter a name, I'll call it XYZ, and now you have a new group. And you can enter up to 99 groups, and for each group, you can enter up to 99 rules. And to enter a new rule into group, you double-click, and here's an empty template for a Spellout rule. If we write a rule here, it will only apply to nouns, as we see up here. The Spellout rules here are virtually identical to the Spellout rules that we saw over in the lexicon. If we go back to our lexicon, go to Forms, Form Rules. You may have watched these videos already. Here's an empty template over in the lexicon, and they're virtually identical. There's one difference. Here, the fifth entry is those dashes. It's not available here in the lexicon. Over in the Synthesizing grammar, here in the Synthesizing grammar, if we enter a new rule, the fifth one is called Phrase Builder. But other than that, the types are the same and the capabilities are virtually the same. And subsequent videos will give an example of a simple rule for prefixes, suffixes, infixes, circumfixes, etc. A simple rule provides one affix. A morphophonemic rule makes morphophonemic changes at a morpheme boundary, same as in the lexicon. A form selection rule lets you select the forms that you defined over in the lexicon. So these are the forms we've defined for English verbs. A table rule lets you specify more than one affix. You can have a table of prefixes, suffixes, infixes, new translations, new words, circumfixes, etc. We'll come to Phrase Builder last. Suppletive forms, these again are similar to in the lexicon. In the lexicon, TBTA writes the suppletive forms for you, but here you'll need to write them yourself, and a subsequent video will explain these. But these are for when there's a suppletive word in a particular environment. Let's go to this new type here. This is new in the Synthesizing grammar. This type of rule, these days, we do almost all of our work with Phrase Builder rules. All of our Spellout rules are done with Phrase Builder rules. For example, here we are in verbs. There's just one rule in this group, and this provides, this builds our verb phrases for us. There are 16 layers, so they're somewhat involved, and each layer has multiple rows. Each row is considered a rule within this one larger rule. For each row you have a structure with features. We'll talk about how to build this in a subsequent video. There's a row with features, and when that row matches, this rule will supply these words, might have started. Okay? Now these, they're fairly involved, but they do a lot of work for us. We can get you off to a good start. We provide documents. I'll show you that document right now. Here's the document for English verb phrases. And we have these sentences over here. And we ask the mother tongue translators to translate these sentences. Now we're going from English to English, so these sentences are virtually identical. But you put the target language translation over here, so everything in yellow is provided by a mother tongue translator. Everything in light blue is provided by a linguist. So here, John walked. We translate that sentence into the target language, and then the linguist needs to put parentheses around the verb and square brackets around the verb phrase. John didn't walk. Parentheses around the verb, square brackets around the verb phrase, etc. for all of these. This document has, I think it's 7 tables. If we scroll to the bottom, yeah, 7 tables. And for each one, let's go back up here. For each one, you translate the sentence into the target language, then you put parentheses around the verb, square brackets around the verb phrase. And you need to specify what form of the verb to use, whether it's a stem. You define these forms. And here, in this other column, we provide these, so you don't need to be concerned about these. Okay, so now we'll import this document into a phrase builder rule. Let's come here. We'll select a phrase builder rule, and we'll say import layers from Microsoft Word. We'll click this one. It sees that there are 7 tables. Let's say select all. And now it will import them. Okay, so here we are. It's imported all of that data into this rule. It builds the features for you. Here are the features. Those come from the Word document. There are examples. And then you provide this. This is for the target language. So our document will help you build these phrase builder rules. And these days, I'm going to say cancel. I don't want to save this because we already have another phrase builder rule for English. These days, we do all. Okay, there's our new rule, our new group. Adjectives. Just one rule for adjectives. Just one rule for adverbs. One rule for verbs and one rule for nouns. They do a lot of the work for us. We used to do things like we would have one rule, for example, we would have one simple rule that would add a word. If the polarity was negative, it would add the word not. If the tense were future, it would add the word will. If the tense were past, it would add a suffix ed, etc. And if the mood were might, a separate rule would add the word might. So we had many rules, each one inserting one constituent. And then we had to write our phrase structure rules to put all of those constituents in the proper order. And it was extremely difficult. But these days, we write just one phrase builder rule, and it does a lot of the work for us, and it's much easier. So we highly recommend using phrase builder rules. The next videos will describe each of these, the simple, the morphophonemic, form selection table, etc.